Beyond presents Spoilers. The Butcher's Play, or Play 12 of the Chester Mystery Cycle, The Butcher's Play of The Temptation. Following are some introductory notes, mixed in with a rough cut of the final full-cast audio adaptation produced by the wonderful Dashingly Quirky for us at Beyond. Due to a clerical error on my part, there won't be a plain text version following this spoiler session, as there are some locked-in sound effects, so some of the passages following will have the odd moment. Now, if you'd rather just listen to the final show, then move on and await its arrival. If you're still listening, then let's enter Spoilerland. Spoilerland. So, the Bouchers, or rather the Butchers Guild in Chester, had this play. It's part of an ongoing mystery cycle. It's effectively 2 plays in one, and I don't know off the top of my head how the text ended up this way. I do know that the Chester cycle changed a lot over the centuries. It shifted from being a 1-day event on Corpus Christi Day to a 3-day showing on Whitsun. We also have late witnesses to the text, mostly copied in the late 16th and early 17th century. So it's all post-Reformation, really, and fiddly. This also means that there isn't a text. There are several slightly different ones, variations of which can be small, ye, the, you, to whole lines or stanzas. So this version of the play incorporates a number of options. So if you want textual fidelity, tough, there's no such sodding thing. Play 1 from this Play 12 is The Temptation. Satan has a chat with Jesus and tries to get him to give in to the dark side. And we start with a fairly flamboyant entrance by Satan. Jesus may already be on stage separately, or enters later. We have no opening stage direction, so Jesus might be set at the front of the stage, and Satan can play his frustrations at him from behind unheard. But maybe not, dealer's choice. What is certain is that Satan has the floor, and he is not happy about this Jesus guy. He's heard things about him down in hell, and it ain't good. Satan here, performed by Robert Cudmore.
Now, by my sovereignty I swear, and principality that I bear, in hell pide when I am there. Game on, I will say. There is a dose bird I would dear that walks abroad wide where. Who is his father? I wot near thee, sooth if I should say. What master man ever be this that now in world common is? His mother I wot did never amiss, and that now marvels me. His father can I not find a wis, for all my craft and my quaintice. It seems that heaven all should be his, so stout a sire is he.
It seems that Satan is unsure of the parentage of Jesus. Is he genuinely ignorant of the Son of God part, or does he cynically refuse to believe it? He can't find a father, but this guy's grown up so strong, it seems all heaven should be his. Oh, there's a clue there, Satan. Maybe Satan just dares not believe. It would be the end of his cosy hell gig as he knows it. Anyway, more about Jesus. What a guy.
He is man from foot to crown, and gotten without corruption. So clean of conversation knew I none before. All men of him marvel moan, for as man he goeth up and down, but as God with devotion he has been honoured yore. Sith the world first began, knew I never such a man, born of a deadlich woman. And yet she is wemless?
Ah, yes, this line. What do you do with it? It's sometimes, and yet she is wemless. Or, and he yet wembles. Or, and yet how it wembles. so the meaning shifts around. Possible readings of wemless, blameless, or wembless, or wembles, or... Oh, it's a bit of a mess. And there's not a lot a modern audience will get out of it. A man born of woman who is clean and pure. Women following Eve considered to be deadlich, except Mary, of course. Medieval early modern misogyny will be a feature of this text going forward. Brace yourselves. Satan then goes through a list of vices that Jesus doesn't have. I don't think it's a full list of the 7 deadly sins. There's about 5 of them, and he throws in the odd commandment that Jesus obeys, like not bearing false witness and all that.
Among the sinful sin doth he none, and cleaner than ever was anyone. He seems to be of blood and bone, and wiser than ever man was. Avarice, nay, no envy, in him could I never espy. He hath no gold in treasury, nay, tempted is by no sight. Pride has he none, nay gluttony, nay, no liking of lechery. His mouth heard I never lie, neither by day nor night.
So, Jesus, what a guy! Grrr. So, why is this a problem for Satan? Because if he's the Messiah, then Jesus will undermine Satan's power.
My highness he puts behind, for in him fault can I none find. If he be God in man's kind, my craft then fully fails. For more than man I what he is, else somewhat he did amiss, save he is hungry a wis, else I wot not what him ails.
Satan thinks maybe there is a chink in the armour. There's nothing amiss in him beyond that being a man, Jesus is hungry, fasting as he is in the wilderness. So he will tempt him with talk of food, of bread. Yes, that's the way.
And this thing dare I soothly say, if that he be God vere, hunger should grieve him by no way. That were against reason. Therefore now I will essay, with speech of bread him to betray. For he hath fasted now many a day. Therefore bread were in season.
So it feels like Jesus must be in place by this point. He might have wandered in late, but it feels like he's always been in place, just sitting there, meditating on something. Satan gets 4 lines to address Jesus with the temptation that he can eat whenever, if he just turns these stones into bread. Yum! Use those magical powers.
Thou man abide and speak with me. God's son, if that thou be. Make of these stones that thou may see bread through thy blessing.
And immediately Jesus identifies who he is and says no. Jesus, played here by Karim Kronfli.
Satan, I tell thee sickly, bread man lives not only by, but through God's word. Verily, of his mouth coming, therefore thou pines thee, saith Harness, to supplant me of my place by meat, as sometime Adam was, of bliss when he was brought. Deceived he was that time through thee, but now must fail thy posty. Therefore, to move that thing to me, it shall serve thee of naught. Satan, through thine enticement, hunger shall not turn mine intent, for God's will omnipotent is my meat without fail, and his word perfect sustenance to me always without distance. For thou shalt find no variance in me that shall avail.
There is not a lot of struggle here. It's straight in. I see you, Satan, shaking that stone. Satan doesn't take it well. I can see he's hungry. Why won't he submit?
Out, alas, what is this? This matter fares all amiss. Hungry I see that he is, as man should kindly be. But through no craft, nay, no quietus, I may not turn his will awis. No need of meat, the worldly bliss in him nothing hath he. For he may suffer all manner nigh, as man should well and stiffly. But ever he wins the victory, as Godhead in him wear.
He will suffer all manner noy, prefiguring some noy that is nigh, and so some other plan is needed. Satan managed to get Adam, he can get Jesus too. It needs to be a more subtle temptation.
Some other slight I must espy, this dose bird for to destroy. For of me he hath the mastery, unhappily now here. Adam, that God himself wrought, through my deceit in bale I brought. But this sire that I have sought, born of one woman, for no need that himself has, with no counsel in this case, to grieve him I may have no grace, for no craft that I can. But I will seek some subtlety.
So Satan invites Jesus to come with him on a journey. As Jesus knows who he is at this point, it's interesting he goes with him, silently at least.
Come forth, thou, Jesu, come with me, unto the holy city. I have an errand to say. Very God, if that thou be, now I shall full soon see, for I shall ordain honour for thee, ere that thou wend away.
Stage direction. Jesus is taken to the pinnacle of the temple, and then the demon says. So, how did they do this? I mean, the pageant carts weren't huge, and there's a third location to come. So he's got to have travelled up to the top of the temple. We, of course, can cheat with special effects, but what did they do? Anyway, doesn't matter here. Somehow we have signified reaching the pinnacle of the temple, and Satan tempts Jesus to jump, knowing that an angel will save him.
Say thou that sitst there so high, if thou be God's son, be sly, come down, and I will say I see thee do a fair mastery. Thine own angel mon keep thee, that thou hurt neither foot nor knee. Shew thou power. Now let's see. Thou may have honour thereby.
Show thy power. And Jesus says, once again, no.
Satan, sickly I thee say, it is written that thou may tempt God, thy Lord, by no way, what matter soever be moved.
Then another stage direction. As they descend the pinnacle, Satan speaks. So is this a literal upper space on the pageant wagon? Maybe it is. Anyway, as they descend, Satan is sad face.
Alas, woe is me today. Twice have I failed of my play. Was I never routed in such array, nay half so foul reproved?
Another stage direction. Satan leads Jesus up a hill. Leads him up a hill? How do they do this with one cart? Anyway, Satan offers Jesus dominion over the land around them, a physical kingdom, if Jesus kneels to him.
But yet, if it be thy will, go we play us upon this hill. Another point I must fulfill, for aught that may befall. Look about thee now and see of all these realms the royalty, for to kneel down and honour me thou shalt be lord of all.
And Jesus says, go away.
Go forth, Sathanas, go forth, go. It is written and shall be so. God thy Lord thou shalt honour, and serve him, though it thee noy.
And I would suggest, with that last rebuttal, Jesus exits. Satan, having been rebuffed 3 times, goes off the deep end.
Out, alas, now me is woe, for found I never so mickle a foe. Though I to thrape be never so throw, I am overcome throy. Alas, my sleight now am I quit. Adam I found it with a fit, and him encumbered soon I knit through coitus of my craft. Now, soon out of sorrow he must be shit, and I punished in hell pit. Knew I never none of such a wit as him that I have laughed.
I should point out that Satan didn't just say shit. He said shut. But it needed to rhyme, so... pit, shit. Moving on. Satan got Adam, but this guy... nah.
Alas, for shame I am shed. With hell hounds when I am hent, I must be ragged and all to rend and driven all to fire.
And here we have an alternative ending. So that last speech could have ended with dirt, the word dirt, or fire. So the scene could end like this.
Therefore, is now mine intent, here I go to make my testament. To all that in this place be lent, I bequeath thee shit.
And yes, that time Satan did say shit. I bequeath thee shit. Oh yeah, great ending. Another text ends thusly, using the fire line ending from earlier to continue the rhyme.
In sorrow and woe now am I brought, and all my cunning is set at naught. Endless pain must I have unsought to my reward and hire. But I am now of good intent, to hold a court full diligent, and call my servants vehement shortly for to appear, them to reward with dignity, that all their life have served me. In burning bliss there shall they be, and sit with Lucifer.
Which is a good closer. Though, no shit, so not as good as the other one. The full cast audio adaptation uses both versions in a cunning way, but they are technically alternative versions you can choose between. Anyway, exit Satan. And we get some exposition of what you just saw, in case you missed the theology, which, to be fair, it was a very truncated version, so that's reasonable. This character is labelled as expositor or doctor, depending on the version of the text. So here's how Jesus overcame Satan. Were you paying attention? There'll be a quiz later. The expositor is played by Maeve de Brun.
Lo lordings, God's righteousness, as St. Gregory makes mind express, since our forefather overcomen was by 3 things to do evil. Gluttony, vainglory, there be 2. Covetousness of highness also. By these 3 things, without mo, Christ hath overcome the devil. That Adam was tempted in gluttony, I may well prove apertly, when of the fruit falsely the devil made him to eat. And tempted he was in vainglory, when he hight him great mastery, to have Godhead unworthily through eating of that meat. Also he was tempted in avarice, when he het him to be wise, no good and evil at his devise more than he was worthy. For covetousness, Gregory saith express, sins not only in riches, but in willing of highness and state unskilfully. Also Christ in these sins 3 was tempted, as ye might well see. For in gluttony, leave you me, he moved him, you saw here, when he enticed him through his red to turn the stones into bread, and so to move his Godhead, which he was in a weir. In vainglory he tempted also, when he excited him down to go the pinnacle of the temple fro, an unskilful gait. And in covetousness he tempted was, when he shewed him such riches, and het him lands both more and less, and there through great estate. Thus overcome Christ in this case the devil, as played was in this place, with those 3 sins that Adam was of wale into woe waved. But Adam fell through his trespass, and Jesus withstood him through his grace. for of his godhead Satanus, that time was clean deceived.
And so ends the first half. Was it once a separate play to what follows, or was it always designed to fit with the next tale, the much more problematic story of the woman taken in adultery? So in comes our first stage direction, two Pharisees, and with them the adulterous woman, and they say, dialogue that will follow in a moment, two Pharisees enter, boo, hiss, which I think we can fairly say has some low-level anti-Jewish sentiment playing out here. Anti-Jewish material gets more strident the closer you get to the Passion. Here it's more implicit, but it's there. Anyway, they're enjoying themselves, having caught a woman in adultery. But more importantly, because they know they can use her as a trap to catch Jesus. If he denies their judgment, they can accuse him of denying the law. If he denounces her, then he is presented as an hypocrite. Win-win for the priesthood.
Master, I read us by God Almighty that we lead this wretched wight that has taken thus tonight in foul adultery before Jesus in his sight for to tempt him. I have tight to wit whether he will deem the right or else unlawfully.
It is good read, by my fay, so we may catch him by some way. For if he do her grace today, he doth against the law, and if he bid punish her sore, he doth against his own law that he has preached here before. To mercy men should draw.
Another helpful, unhelpful stage direction. They bring her to Jesus. So we can't be precisely sure where Jesus is at this point. Does Jesus enter and they just turn around to him, or is there a more complex journey? Did they enter from the audience initially, dragging the woman, and then climb onto the stage, and so they actually come to Jesus, who's in place? I mean, the use of the street is not uncommon within this kind of setup, so it's not all necessarily all happening on the pageant wagon. Anyway, doesn't matter. This is audio. They ask Jesus to make his judgment, and the trap is set. The first Pharisee is played by Fiona MacKinnon, the second by Emily C.A. Snyder, and the woman by Sarah Golding.
Master, this woman that is here is a wedded wife without veer, but with another man than her fear we found here do amiss. And Moses' law bids us stone all such women as be unclean. Therefore to thee we can us mean to give a doom of this.
Stage direction, Jesus writes on the ground.
Now, which of you, everyone, is without sin? Busk him anon, and cast at her the first stone. Be live, ere that you be blind.
He helpfully says the thing that he is writing, or near enough. He cunningly sidesteps their trap. They don't hear him speak the lines, so impatiently they ask what he's doing.
Speak on, master, somewhat to say. Shall she be stoned? Or else, nay, or do her mercy here today to forgive her this sin.
Master, why art thou so still? What writest thou? If it be thy will, whether shall we spare or spill this woman found in blame? What writest thou, master? Now, let me see. Out. Alas, that woe is me. Here no longer dare I be, for dread of world shame.
Stage direction. He flees, and the first Pharisee then says. So this play really isn't going into depth. That is not a criticism, it's just what it's doing. It is a précis of the biblical action. It's almost bullet point theatre. Jesus writes, one of the Pharisees reacts and runs away, and the next Pharisee, well, their reaction is even more extreme.
Why fleest thou, fellow, by my fay? I will see soon and assay. Alas, that I were away, far beyond France.
Steady on there. France? Ooh, even you don't deserve that. Anyway, Pharisee out.
Stand thou, Sibyl, him beside. No longer here I dare abide, against thee now for to chide, as I have good chance.
Another stage direction. He flees, and Jesus says to the woman. So Jesus has saved the woman from the Pharisees, and then, well, you didn't think this wouldn't get a bit judgy, did you? Really? Bit judgy.
Woman, where be those men each on that put this guilt thee upon? To damn thee now, there is none of those that were before.
Oh, Lord, to damn me there is none, for all they've been away, gone.
Neither do I damn thee. Though, woman, go forth, and sin no more.
Oh, Lord, blessed must thou be that of mischief have helpen me. From henceforth sin I will flee, and serve thee in good faith. For Godhead full in thee I see, that knoweth all works that done be. I honour thee, kneeling on my knee, and so I will do. Ay.
So the sinful woman is forgiven and promises not to do the naughty thing any more. Well, did you really expect much else from, a late medieval viewpoint? Anyway, to drive home the point, re-enter the expositor/doctor. This time they're going to quote some learned thinking on these issues.
Now, lordings, I pray you take heed of the great goodness of God's deed. I will declare, as it is need, this thing that played was. As Augustine speaketh expressly of it in his homily upon St. John's Evangely, this he says in that case. 2 ways they casten him to annoy, sith he had preached much of mercy, and the law commanded expressly such women for to stone that trespassed in adultery. Therefore they hoped witterly variance in him to espy, or blemish the law clean.
Let's not go into the medieval world's punishments for adultery and other such religious crimes. Okay, I don't think they stoned people to death, but they did a lot of publicly shaming people, and, well, the play has to draw a line somewhere with the whole "oh, Jesus is merciful" thing. Sigh.
Then wist Jesu well their thought, and all their wits set at naught, but bade, which no sin had wrought, cast first at her a stone, and wrote in clay, leave you me, that their own sins that they might see, that each one fain was to flee, and so left her alone. For each one of them had grace to see their sins in that place, yet none of them wiser was, but his own each man knew. And fain they were to take their way, lest they had damned been that day. Thus help the woman in good fay, our sweet Lord, Jesu.
And thus the text ends. The most successful part, certainly for us today, is the temptation, as Satan's leaping from despair to cunning is rather fun, though there are deeper readings of this encounter elsewhere. But this play really isn't trying to do depth. It's skimming across the surface of a text that the audience already knows, maybe not from reading it, but they will have heard these stories before, or even seen them the previous year, or in other versions of these plays. So the sudden change in the Pharisees, when they read what's written in the dirt, is expected. It's possibly played for laughs, because they are boo-hiss villains, again with that anti-Jewish element. And the issues we can discuss about the unnamed woman at the end, well, thank you, Jesus. I will be good now. The full cast audio adaptation will follow shortly, produced by the wonderful Fiona Thraille and Sarah Golding of Dashingly Quirky. Normally, I'd close a spoiler episode with the plain text, but due to a clerical error on my part, there isn't a full version of the plain text available, and as the full cast audio adaptation is uncut, it would be a bit odd to just release it twice. So, instead, I close with a trailer made in part from the bands for the Chester Cycle. There are a couple of bands, speeches performed prior to the show to set out what the audiences will see. So, till next time, I'm your host, Robert Crighton. Goodbye. The Butcher's Pageant shall not be missed. How Satan tempted our Saviour Christ.
Now, by my sovereignty I swear, and principality that I bear, in hell pied when I am there. Game on, I will say. There is a dose bird I would dear that walks abroad wide where. Who is his father? I wot near thee, sooth if I should say.
It is an history of the best, as witnesseth the gospel.